Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new ranking here on Max Talks Movies. And today I'm ranking my top 10 favorite slash best films that I saw in 2020. For into my ranking of the top 10 films that I saw in 2020, let me know your ranking of your favorite top 10 films of 2020. Obviously, I did not get to see every movie that came out this year. Are there films that I missed that or in your top 10? Are there films that I have that I did watch that I did not get on my top 10? Is there films that on the top 10 of my list that you just don't like? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's have a nice fun discussion about your favorite movies of 2020. Also, please like the video if you're enjoying this ranking so far. Please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Please support this channel. We are very close to 100 subscribers. Let's keep this journey moving to build this community as much as possible to give you the best content out there on YouTube. As I said, guys, I saw 90 movies in 2020. I saw 100 in 2019, so 10 off of that record. I'm hoping to keep going, trying to get my 100-yard benchmark needs to be a goal. Obviously, this year couldn't really see as many movies as I probably wanted to because of no movie theaters, all streaming. So that's where I'm at, guys. I did see a lot of movies this year, a lot of movies. So can't wait to talk about this with you. And let's get started with the ranking because this will be a bit of a long video. Actually, before I get into my ranking, I have reviewed a lot of these movies already in in-depth fashion on my YouTube channel. At the end of my video, I'll leave you links so you can click on if you want these full depth reviews. Some of them I have not reviewed. Those will go more in depth on this video. But if you've already seen some of these reviews, you know I'm not going to go as deep because they're already YouTube videos on this channel. So let's get into it with my number 10, which is Unpregnant, a movie that no one is really talking about this year in 2020. It's an HBO Max original film starring Haley Lou Richardson in the lead role and Barbie Ferreira. Barbie Ferreira coming from Euphoria. It's also stars Giancarlo Esposito and Breckin Meyer. I really enjoyed this movie a lot more than most people, I guess. I think this is a really brilliant movie and a very educational movie for people. It's about this character played by Haley Richardson who discovers that she is pregnant in high school, and this development is obviously affecting her life. She wants to go to this Ivy League school and be a perfect student. She wants to get an abortion, but where she lives in Missouri, at least in the movie, there's no place where a person under the age of 18 can go to get an abortion by herself. And that's all she wants, is to get an abortion by herself. And she goes with her former best friend, Ferreira, on this journey. It's basically a road trip film. And I found this film very heartwarming, really emotional, really funny, a lot funnier than I thought, and characters that I really cared about, and something that I don't think is talked about in film enough. The idea of not just girls, not just women themselves having abortions, but girls in high school who by accidentally get pregnant. What do they do? How did that change their lives? And also, how can girls do this by themselves? How can they get an abortion by themselves without any parent present? I thought the messaging of this film, it is a touch bit too preachy during the film, especially there's one scene where Haley Richardson is giving this speech and it felt a little too preachy in my opinion. And the main issue with the movie is that there's a subplot that takes up 15 minutes of the film with Breckin Meyer's character that felt like a cartoon and completely took me out of the movie at the time. That's why this isn't top tier for me, top 5. But this is a really great movie with great characters. One of the most underrated movies of the year, and especially for me, my favorite HBO Max original film that we've gotten so far this year. Let's move into my number 9 pick, and that is the Hulu original film Happiest Season. I really love this movie for a lot of reasons. One of the main reasons is this is one of the best casts of the entire year. Kristen Stewart, who I normally don't like, is in the lead role. This is the best Kristen Stewart has been, in my opinion. A really great performance from her. And basically, she plans a young woman plans to propose to her girlfriend while at her family's annual holiday party are upended when she discovers her partner hasn't yet come out to her parents and her family. Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis play this couple, and a part of this family of people like Alison Brie, Mary Holland, Victor Garber, Mary Steenburgen. You have Aubrey Plaza as a former love interest to Mackenzie Davis. You have Dan Levy as Kristen Stewart's best friend. What a great cast. One of the funniest movies of the entire year. And it's just such a heartwarming movie with, again, a really good message. The fact that these people always have to try to put on their perfect persona around their parents because their dad, played by Victor Garber, is the mayor and he tries to show off his kids. But all these kids have faults. Allison Brie is going through a bit of a divorce. Mackenzie Davis is gay, and Mary Holland just isn't respected in the family. And they all go about that. Mary Holland also wrote the movie with Clea Duvall, who directed it, and she also steals a lot of scenes in here. Dan Levy steals a lot of scenes. There are a couple subplots that I think weren't as necessary. I actually loved Aubrey Plaza in the movie and her dynamic with Stewart, but it wasn't really explored to the full as it needed to be. Also, there's a lot of choices with Mackenzie Davis's character that makes you not want Kristen Stewart to fall in love with Davis again at the end of the movie. That was a big fault, and obviously Twitter went crazy about it. I'm not that extreme about it, but the word choices were, why is Kristen Stewart still with her? Multiple times throughout the film. But overall, a really good movie with a really good cast and a really funny movie that balances tones and messaging very, very well. Let's move in, guys, to my number 8, and again, not Netflix right now. HBO released Bad Education right when the pandemic was really starting. This movie is based on a true story with Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney about Hugh Jackman is a superintendent of a school district who works for the betterment of the students' education when an embezzlement scheme is discovered, threatening to destroy everything. Hugh Jackman still, in my opinion, delivers one of the best performances of the year. I'm not sure if this movie is going to get enough praise throughout award season. Now, Allison Janney is heavily in the first half of the movie, and then she kind of disappears. This really is Hugh Jackman's film, and when you learn more about his character, you really can't believe that this is a true story. And I love that about this movie, the fact that you think it's this positive school. Hugh Jackman seems like a great guy, and once his embezzlement stuff comes running in, the whole movie feels like it's going really quickly in a good way. It doesn't feel rushed. My main issue with the film is that it did feel like nothing was going on. Like I didn't watch a trailer or didn't know anything about the plot before I watched the film. And when you're watching the first 30 to 45 minutes, you're kind of like, what's the point of the movie? And then once the plot really kicks in, this movie becomes really great. And one of the most fascinating movie stories, one of the most fascinating true stories that I think I've seen all year. Now let's get into some Netflix films with my number 7 pick, and that is Over the Moon. You're gonna see a lot of animated movies because this has been a really great year for animation. Over the Moon is the best that Netflix had to offer in 2020. Willoughby's came in second, but Willoughby's is nowhere near this top 10 list, in my opinion. Over the Moon is a really good movie that I had as a 3.5 on my original watch, and I slept on it, reflected, and this movie easily can claim up to my top 10 as one of the best animated movies of the year. Um, it's an animated musical about a girl who builds a rocket ship and blasts off, hoping to meet a mythical moon goddess. Really good music in here. Kathy Ang, Philippa Shu, who plays the goddess, steals all of her scenes, especially all of her singing scenes as well. Ken Jeong plays a very fun character in here as well. John Cho plays the father. This movie is really heartwarming with a really beautiful animation. And a lot of people are comparing this to Coco. The answer is that the way that Coco handled its Hispanic heritage in the Day of the Dead and the whole story, this movie does just as good of a job building its Asian and Chinese heritage greatly in this movie. I think it does a great job honoring it and telling a story that a lot of people like me are not that familiar with, but do it in such a fun way. There's a character in here, the stepbrother of our lead character, who was very annoying in the first half of the movie. And once he gets an arc, he becomes a really great character. My really only complaint with the film is that the story does feel quite familiar. The idea of a parent dies in the opening of the movie, which sets up our character not liking that her dad is now interested in someone else and he has a family. We've kind of seen that before, but this movie does a great job messaging that you just have to move on. And sometimes you have to believe that, you got to take in more family. It's a really good messaging film, as well as, a lot of those messages in my top 10 of the year here really means something to me, because that's my top 10. It's very subjective. It's my opinion. Some of these messages don't hit for everyone, but Over the Moon, one of the most pleasant surprises that I've seen. I heard the songs are really, really good in here. Beautiful animation. The movie's very predictable, and you've seen the story before, but it's done in a very unique way. Let's move into my number 6, and that is a very controversial film, I guess, here in 2020. That is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, directed by Charlie Kaufman. This movie made me think the most in 2020. Now, I love movies where I finish it and I can't stop thinking about what happened for days, and not in a bad way, in a good way. Like, for example, I like Us better than this, but Us I couldn't stop thinking about for a week or 2 weeks about the ending of the movie and what the whole movie was about. This movie did the exact same thing, with brilliant performances from Jessie Buckley and Jesse Plemons in the main two roles, and then Toni Collette and David Thewlis also dominate their roles in as the father and mother of Jesse Plemons' character. Really great performances, and you think you're watching one movie in the beginning. There's really two areas where we see the movie. There's a car ride that basically takes up a lot of the first half and a lot of the second half of the movie, and then there's in the between that there's a meeting at Jesse Plemons' house with Toni Collette and Thewlis and Buckley there. And that's when the movie really picks up. It is a kind of slow to start if you haven't seen a trailer, which I didn't. It's a very slow start to the film. Feel like you're just watching someone talk in a car ride. And then once we get to that meetup at Plemons' house, the movie really picks up. It makes you think. It challenges the audience, which I wish more directors is. We're not dumb. You can't treat your audience dumb. And and Kaufman treats his audience very diligently and respectful in this movie by giving you things that you might not understand, but when you think about it and you think about what the movie was about, it's a very powerful ending. I really love the ending of the movie. I really wasn't quite sure about this movie when I first saw it, and as you said, as I said earlier, I reflected on it. I kept thinking about this movie, and that's why it's my number 6 of the year. Let's move into our top 5 here, and let's go into my opinion the most underrated movie of the year, and that is Safety, a Disney Plus original film, the last one they did before Soul. Now, um, no one is talking about this movie. It's a true story about a freshman football player at Clemson who secretly raised his younger brother on campus after his home life became too unsteady. This movie really hit me hard. Now, obviously, if you know me personally, I'm a biggest sports fan, so I was already ready for this film, but I didn't want to see a trailer. I saw a little bit of TV ads, but that didn't really show plot details. And I couldn't believe that I haven't heard of this story because I watch college football, especially Clemson, one of the best teams in the country most years. And also, this cast has actors that I don't know at all. Jay Reeves plays the lead character here, and he does a fantastic job in the main role. He really is great, and he has great chemistry with his younger brother as well. Just amazing chemistry, and the story is really unbelievable as well. And the movie hit me really hard emotionally, especially towards the third act of what Ray actually does. Is I'm in college, and I can't imagine going to college, trying to play top football you can play in the country, and also raise a brother, all happening at once. And it's a truly story that is shows what heroes can be without being superheroes and these CGI stuff, what a hero really is. And I think that I know the brother is great and all, but Ray does stuff that is very heroic in the movie for himself, for his community, for the university, and his and for himself. And I really believe that it's a really great movie. I wish a lot more people were talking about it, and that's why I'm heavily talking about it here. Please watch this movie. If you're a sports fan, you have to watch the movie. If not, there's still parts of it. It's not really about sports. It's really about what happens involving sports. And I absolutely loved this film for sure. Let's move into my number 4 film of the year. And anyone could be shocked. Onward is my number 4 movie of the year. I really like this movie a lot. Now, I watched it the first time I watched it, and I loved it. The second time I watched it, when I was doing my Pixar rewatches for this channel, I felt like it definitely wasn't as good as I remembered it when I saw it in the theaters. And Onward is actually the last movie that I saw in theaters. Early March, this was the last movie that I got to see in a movie theater. So this movie still holds a pretty special place in my heart until we go back to normal. But Onward is a movie that really touched me because it's all about this brotherhood between Tom Holland's character and Chris Pratt's character. Is this Pixar's best? Absolutely not. This is not top 10 Pixar for me, but that's not saying a lot because Pixar's made in my opinion, like 14 or 15 really good to great films. Um, and Onward was another one for me because having a brother and knowing this dynamic, it really hit me hard. What it's like to be an older brother as well. Obviously, I'm an older brother, so I related a lot more to Chris Pratt's character, involving the responsibilities of being an older brother and the example you're setting for your younger brother, and how people see you and how your brother sees you. And the response, and the movie has a pretty generic plot with finding your half of your dad after you bring him back to life with only his legs. And the choices they made at the very end of the movie on who gets to see the dad and that type of stuff really hit me hard. There were some subplots in the movie that I really didn't like. The Octavia Spencer, Julia Louis-Dreyfus side mission thing, really hated it, and it took me out of the film because I wanted more of Holland and Pratt. And they had to make a big dragon fight in the third act that I wasn't a huge fan of. But other than that, there's some parts that really got to me. I didn't cry or anything, but it really resonated with me, especially Brotherhood and that storyline. And it's another original Pixar movie that did a great job with its demographic. Top three of the year, guys. We're heading to that point. The number three place, which was my number one for a while, and that is Da 5 Bloods. Another Netflix film. This is directed by Spike Lee. This came out the same day as actually Artemis Fowl. And this film is brilliant. It's about four African American veterans who return to Vietnam in search of their fallen squad leader and the promise of buried treasure. I really love this movie. Now, I was off the bat loving this movie, and since then, a lot of this movie has been, people really don't have starting to lessen their opinion on this film, but I really love the film. Delroy Lindo, still in my opinion, has given the best performance of the year by a male actor. He is really fantastic. The whole group of them, Clark Peters, Norm Lewis, and Isaiah Whitlock Jr., are all fantastic in the film. Jonathan Majors, who this is the first time I saw him before he absolutely killed it in Lovecraft, is also in this film. Paul Walter Hauser, and the second to last performance from Chadwick Boseman. And at the time when the movies came out, he was still alive. And I'm just saying this, when it came out, I believe he should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor as well. There are the best scene in the whole movie is this reuniting between Delroy Lindo and Chadwick Boseman. Not gonna spoil it, but it happens in the third act, between the scene between Lindo and Boseman. It's the best acting, one of the best scenes of the entire year, and that scene really got to me. It's also a very original, very unique take on another way to look at the Vietnam War and the way that the Americans treated the African American soldiers. Even though they were risking their lives, they still weren't liked in war or back in their own country. And that idea was brilliant in the film. And there were some directing choices that I loved from Spike Lee. The different ways he shot in close in camera, the fact that he didn't de-age any of the old actors back in flashbacks, I also thought was brilliant because they really truly never left Vietnam. All those points were really great. A really great score from Terrence Blanchard as well. Easily one of the best films of the year. I want this to get more praise for the Oscars, not just Delroy Lindo. And also Chadwick Boseman needs to be nominated, and the movie needs to be nominated because this is a really great and original take from Spike Lee. Let's go to my number two. This movie was my number one again for a couple of months. It was just dethroned the other day, and I'll talk about that in a sec. And that is The Trial of the Chicago Seven, which in my opinion is the best cast that we have gotten so far in 2020, directed by Aaron Sorkin. It is based off of the true story of the trial of the Chicago Seven back in 1968. Great, Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Jeremy Strong, Mark Rylance, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, Frank Langella, John Carroll Lynch. This cast is fantastic. People are starting to not really like this film as of late. Now, I do understand people's criticism of the ending that's a little too positive. And it definitely didn't feel like a real scene that happened in real life, because it didn't. And that's my only really main critique of the film. This cast is really fantastic, and you're kind of fascinated by each of the characters. They each have their own very distinct backgrounds, and this will be kind of the main thing that this movie is going to take away from you is all these actors on their game. It's so great to see Eddie Redmayne back in the movie like this. Sacha Baron Cohen in a serious role delivers probably the best performance of the entire film. Mark Rylance is also really good. So is Joseph Gordon-Levitt in particular. But this movie is going to be all over Oscar season, not just because of a really good script from Aaron Sorkin, but this cast is going to be in a battle with each other for best supporting actor because there really isn't a lead actor. So you might see 3 actors at least from this cast get nominated for best supporting actor at the Academy Awards because of how great of a movie this really is. Now, my main issues, as I said, the ending did not work for me, and the direction from Sorkin really isn't that great. I think he directed a better, his direction was way better in Molly's Game than it was in Trial of Chicago 7, but the script is really great because it's Aaron Sorkin. Great movie. I was talking about this for a long time about particular scenes that really got to me. So I really enjoyed the Trial of the Chicago 7. But let's get to my number 1. I said it just got dethroned very recently. And very recently, I mean Christmas night. Um, and that is Soul, which I just talked about on this YouTube channel a couple of days ago. Is this Pixar's best? No. Is this Pixar's top 10? I would say yes. Soul is a fantastic movie with an amazing message, beautiful animation, and great score that makes you really reflect on your life. The idea of what would it be like if you saw your soul pre-death, and you take a look at your life and you're wondering, what have I done with my life? Have I done better? Am I too selfish? And you try to learn about yourself, and that's what Jamie Foxx does in this film. Also, you learn a lot about Tina Fey's character 22, who also has a very powerful arc in the film, that she's just stuck in this soul form because she doesn't even want to live. But once something happens in the movie, she kind of realizes that she kind of wants to live. And I thought that fact was really important. Also, the trailers did not spoil like anything with this film. They showed scenes, clips, but when you actually get the whole picture of the film, it is really great. The score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross should win an Academy Award. This film should be nominated and should win for Best Animated Feature, but also, in my opinion, should be in consideration for Best Picture. I know only Toy Story 3 has been nominated for Best Picture, but I really love this movie. It's really powerful. It's a really moving movie. And I found it very relatable because I knew someone very similar to this character who is a jazz teacher, who I used to have a jazz teacher very similar to this. And this movie really spoke because I had played jazz music. I know all about jazz music. And I think that added a lot more to this film. So Soul, guys, is easily the best movie for me of the year. Everyone should check this out on Disney Plus. You don't have to pay for it. Pixar is so great, and they had 2 films this year, in my opinion, that hit my top 5. I know not a lot of people loved Onward, but I really did like Onward, and Soul for me easily is the best film of the year. So thank you guys so much for checking out my top 10 ranking of the year. I still have one more video, guys, left for 2020, and that is tomorrow. I'll be doing my non-spoiler review of season 1 of A Teacher, and that'll be my last review of 2020 before we head into this Friday's 2021. I want to thank you guys so much for this. I'll tell you more about how happy I am about this year, or not happy about this year, in my next video, because that'll be the last one in 2020. But thank you guys so much for checking out this review. Let me know your ranking and your comments on my ranking in the comment section down below. Please like, share, subscribe, ring that bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.